Have you ever noticed how different the world feels at night? Crescent moon, the streets you walk in daylight seem safe and familiar, but under the cloak of darkness, they change. Every shadow looks deeper, every sound feels louder, and sometimes, silence itself becomes unsettling. The night isn't just darkness, it's a curtain, and behind that curtain, secrets, shadows, and stories too terrifying to ignore. Tonight, I'm going to share with you true horror stories that happened in the dead of night. Real people, real moments, and terrifying encounters that remind us just how fragile our sense of safety really is when the sun goes down. One story begins with a harmless knock on the door that turned into something far more sinister. Another takes us down a lonely highway where a stranger's headlights reveal more than just bad driving. And then, there's the story of a college dorm, where a student discovers that the person they thought was sharing their room wasn't human at all. As you listen, I want you to picture yourself in these moments. Imagine being home alone at 2 a.m., or driving down that endless stretch of road, or lying awake in your dorm bed when you realize you're not alone. And before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button bell so you don't miss the next nightmarish tale. Trust me, you'll want to stay with us, because the stories only get darker from here. So, are you ready? Let's begin with the first story. The midnight knock. It was one of those nights where the world feels still. No cars on the street. No neighbors awake. Just silence. I was home alone in my suburban neighborhood, scrolling on my phone, when I heard it. Knock. Knock. At first, it was soft, barely there, like the sound of branches brushing against the siding. I froze, phone in hand, straining to listen. Then it came again, a little louder, a little more deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. I remember glancing at the time. It was 2:07 a.m. Nobody knocks at your door at 2 in the morning. Not unless it's an emergency. My first thought was maybe a neighbor needed help, but when I checked the doorbell camera on my phone, the porch was empty. Nothing. No movement. Just the faint glow of the streetlight. I felt my chest tighten. Maybe the camera had glitched? Maybe someone was just out of frame? I leaned back in my chair, trying to brush it off, when the knocking came again. This time harder, faster, like whoever it was wanted me to know they weren't leaving. Knock, 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 knock. Still, nothing on the camera. I stood, every step toward the front door feeling heavier. I didn't dare open it. Instead, I slid the blinds of the nearest window just an inch, and that's when I saw it. At the very end of the driveway, under the streetlight, stood a figure, perfectly still, facing the house. They weren't moving. They weren't waving. Just standing there. My stomach dropped. I whispered to myself, "What the hell?" and quickly shut the blinds. I dialed 911 with shaking hands, trying to keep my voice steady as I explained. "Someone's outside my house. They're knocking on my door, but they're standing at the end of the driveway." The operator told me to stay inside and wait. Police were on their way. Minutes crawled by. The knocking stopped. Silence swallowed the house. When the red and blue lights finally washed across the windows, I rushed to the door but didn't open it until I saw the officers. Two of them walked up, flashlights in hand. I explained everything as fast as I could, pointing to where the figure had been standing. They swept the yard, checked the driveway, circled the street. Nothing. No car. No person. But then, one of the officers crouched near the edge of the grass. His flashlight beam caught something that made my skin crawl. Footprints. Dozens of them. They weren't just leading up to the porch. They were everywhere, circling the house, stopping at windows, backing away, then coming close again. Like someone had been pacing, watching, waiting. The strangest part? None of the prints led away. They started and ended in the same spots, looping endlessly around the property as if whoever or whatever it was never left. One officer asked if I wanted them to stay until I felt safe. The other told me to keep the doors locked and call again if I heard anything. When they left, I stood at the window, staring out at the streetlight where that figure had been. The empty space looked the same, but it felt different now, like the night was holding its breath. I didn't sleep until the sun came up, and even then, I couldn't stop thinking about those footprints. They weren't a prank. They weren't random. Someone, or something, had come to my house in the middle of the night and circled it over and over again. And the fact that the prints never led away haunts me more than anything. Because it means they might still be out there. There's something about driving at night that feels different. The road stretches endlessly in front of you, swallowed in black, and the only light you have is the narrow beam of your headlights. It feels like the world has shrunk to just your car, your lane, and the darkness pressing in from every side. That's where Jason found himself one summer night. He was 21, heading home from visiting a friend. The drive should have been simple, just 2 hours down an empty highway. Music on low, windows cracked, nothing but him and the hum of the engine. But an hour in, he noticed it. Headlights in his rearview mirror. At first, he didn't think much of it. Another late-night traveler, maybe a trucker, maybe someone heading home like him. The car stayed back a little, never too close, never too far. But minutes turned into miles, and no matter how many exits or side roads passed, the car didn't leave. Jason changed lanes. The car changed lanes. Jason slowed down. The car slowed down. Jason sped up. The car sped up. His hands started to sweat against the steering wheel. By now, it had been 20 miles of this strange cat and mouse game. He told himself it's just a coincidence. Just another driver. Don't overthink it. But then, without warning, the headlights vanished. 1 second, they were there. The next, the rearview mirror showed nothing but darkness. Jason's heart leapt into his throat. He tapped the brakes, leaned forward, squinting at the road behind him. Nothing. No headlights. No shadow of a car. Just the black highway stretching on forever. He was alone. Or at least he thought he was. That's when his stomach dropped. The lights reappeared. Not behind him at a distance. Not even a few car lengths back. They exploded in his mirror, blindingly close, right on his bumper. The car had gone from vanishing into thin air to tailgating him so closely that Jason swore if he tapped the brakes, they would both crash. Adrenaline surged through him. His foot pressed down hard on the accelerator. 70, 80, 90. The engine roared, and the wind howled through the cracked window. But no matter how fast he drove, the other car stayed glued to his bumper. The headlights burned into his rearview mirror, filling his cabin with an eerie white glow. Jason's thoughts spiraled. What if they're trying to run me off the road? What if it's some kind of game? What if it's not even human behind that wheel? Finally, up ahead, salvation, a glowing sign. A gas station, one of the few on this lonely stretch of road. Jason swerved off the exit, tires screeching as he pulled into the lot. The car behind him followed. But then, just as Jason rolled to a stop, it sped past. Headlights cutting across the highway, disappearing into the dark. Jason sat frozen, chest heaving, watching until the tail lights faded. Inside the gas station, he tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was some jerk messing with him. Maybe he was just paranoid. But when he walked to the counter to pay for gas, the old attendant behind the register gave him a strange look. "You look like you've seen a ghost," the man said. Jason forced a shaky laugh. "Some car was following me for miles. Gave me a hell of a scare." The attendant's face darkened. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "That car?" he asked. "Black sedan? No plates." Jason's mouth went dry. He nodded. The attendant sighed, almost like he'd been expecting this. "You're not the first. That car's been circling this highway for weeks now. Nobody's ever seen the driver. People say it disappears, then reappears right on top of you. And if it follows you long enough." He didn't finish the sentence, just shook his head and slid Jason's receipt across the counter. Jason didn't ask for details. He didn't want them. When he got back in his car, he sat for a long time, staring at the black stretch of highway waiting for him. His hands trembled on the wheel. The idea of driving back out there made his skin crawl. And though he eventually made it home that night, Jason swore to himself that he would never drive that road in the dark again. Because sometimes, the scariest thing about the highway at night isn't the accidents you can see. It's the things following you that you can't. There's something oddly comforting about having a roommate in college. Even if you don't talk much, just knowing someone else is there makes the room feel less lonely. Less empty. That's what Emma thought when she moved into her dorm her freshman year. Her assigned roommate, Hannah, seemed nice enough. Quiet, kept to herself, but polite. They weren't best friends, but they coexisted peacefully. The only strange thing? Hannah was always in bed. No matter when Emma came back from class, Hannah was lying there, bundled under her blankets. Some mornings she'd be asleep well past noon. At night, she'd already be in bed by the time Emma returned from studying. Emma figured she was just the type who liked to sleep a lot. No big deal. But then Emma started to notice the breathing. It was steady, heavy, rhythmic, almost too loud. She could hear it even through her headphones sometimes. This constant reminder that Hannah was there in the room with her. First, it was normal. Roommates snore. People breathe heavily in their sleep. But after weeks, something about it began to feel off. Because Emma realized she never actually saw Hannah get into bed. She was just always there already. Blanket pulled up high, only the faint shape of her body visible in the dark. One night, Emma whispered a quick, "Good night." The breathing never changed. No acknowledgement, just the same steady rhythm. Weeks passed like this until one Friday night, Emma's friend Kara came to hang out. They ordered pizza, watched a movie, and laughed until nearly midnight. When Kara got up to leave, she glanced at the other bed and froze. "Is your roommate gone for the weekend?" she asked. Emma frowned. "What do you mean? She's right there." Kara tilted her head. "No, she's not." Emma turned, heart skipping a beat. The bed looked the same as always. The blanket pulled up, the shape of someone lying beneath it. But when Kara, curious, walked over and tugged at the blanket, the bed was empty. There was no one under it. Just pillows arranged beneath the sheets. Emma's skin went cold. She felt dizzy, like the air had been sucked out of the room. For weeks, she'd heard breathing. She'd seen the outline of a body. But now nothing. Shaken, she and Kara went to the front desk to ask about Hannah. That's when the student worker flipped through the housing records and said something that made Emma's blood run ice cold. "Hannah? Oh, she moved out. A month ago." Emma stared at him. "What? No, she didn't. I've seen her. I've heard her. She's been here every night." But the records didn't lie. Hannah had packed up and switched dorms weeks ago. Emma returned to her room in a daze. That night, she couldn't bring herself to sleep. She left the lights on, sat upright in bed, and listened. And around 3 a.m., she heard it. The breathing, slow, heavy, rhythmic, coming from the bed right beside hers. She turned her head, every muscle in her body trembling, and saw it. The unmistakable shape of someone under the blankets. Rising and falling. Rising and falling. Emma shut her eyes tight, too terrified to move, praying she was imagining it. But the sound continued. She wasn't alone. And the worst part? She never had been. The night has a way of reminding us that we're never as safe as we think. Think about it. One moment you're home alone, and a knock at your door turns into something far darker than you ever expected. That was the midnight knock. A visitor who left behind footprints but no answers. Or picture yourself driving a quiet highway, headlights glowing behind you for miles. You speed up, slow down, change lanes, but the car copies your every move. That's the highway stalker. A shadow on wheels that disappears and reappears as if the darkness itself is driving. And then, of course, there's the dorm room that should have been a safe haven. A roommate who seemed to always be there, until you discover she wasn't. The roommate who never left. A presence that breathed in the night, long after the living had gone. These stories remind us that the night isn't just silence. It doesn't just hide things, it amplifies them. It stretches our fear, twists our comfort, and sometimes shows us things we're not ready to face. So tonight, when the lights go out and silence settles in, listen closely. Because sometimes, the night listens back. If you made it this far, thank you for being brave enough to stay until the end. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Because trust me, the stories ahead are only getting darker. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced something strange at night? A sound, a shadow, something you couldn't explain? Share your story in the comments below. I might feature it in a future video. Sleep tight, if you can.